Hey, good morning. Well, I'm trying to pick some nice song to start the day with you guys. And I'm thinking of, because we are live streaming on YouTube as well, so I try to avoid the copyright problem, you know. So I'm trying to pick some music that has, just beats, some nice music, not lyrical. If it's lyrical, I'm just afraid of the copyright thing. Let's, all right. Hello, guys. Good morning. Welcome to the class. All right, welcome to the class. As usual, very happy to see you guys. Very happy to see you guys. Welcome back to the class. So currently we have like 4 participants in the chat box. It's fine. We have a small crowd. We build the momentum. We're gonna build and warm up ourselves. And anyway, it is the second day of the week. It is Tuesday. So far, so good. I'm gonna set my intention before starting the day. So the intention is this. The intention is a word called anti-fragile. No matter what life throws at you, you're gonna use it and turn it into a field to make you stronger, better, and wiser. So if you're taking a loss, fine, learn from it. If you're having a breakup, fine, learn from it. If you're having some failure in your business, fine, learn from it. Everything that is being shoot at us, all the shit that is happening to us, we're gonna use all those energy and we're gonna use all the negative energy into wisdom. We're gonna turn it into wisdom, into strategy, into ways to improve ourselves. So, guys, thank you very much for attending my class since day one. Um, we have Alex, Charlie, Arya, Kalini, Paul, and Josh in the class today. So, welcome back. And just as usual, I'm gonna change my approach a little bit during live stream because I understand that a lot of you guys, especially from YouTube, just would be much more appreciate if, you know, for me to just focus on my craft, which is trading. So from now onwards, I'm going to use a very different approach. The approach would be to be much more quiet and much more focused on the chart. I know some of you may be weird, like why CG is so quiet recently. Well, I'm quiet because I realized that I need to respect the fact when we are doing live stream, there's a lot of strangers, there's a lot of people that are from YouTube, from TikTok, from Instagram that, just scroll through. And if I'm always constantly teaching and teaching and teaching, well, sometimes it misses the whole point of doing live stream, right? So the main point about live stream is to show you guys how I trade, why I trade, my entry, my exit, my risk management, etc. That's all. Okay, and if you guys have any question, just leave in the chat box. When the timing is good, I will certainly answer your question. But before that, just be prepared. We're gonna listen to some nice music because we're gonna enter flow state and we're gonna be really just focus on the market and try to look for quality entry today. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. So if you guys are ready, we're gonna look at the gold market today. Please click gold, GOLD, in the chat box so that we're gonna start our day together. All right, now before that, let me light up some incense to make the environment much more chill, much more fun. All right, so it's a zen thing of mine, you know to light up some incense. It smells good and it calms you down. I'm not praying, guys. It's an incense for mood calming. But we can but we can pray to the market if we want, like pray to the forex market and the gold market. Got it? All right, let's go. Let's start our day, guys. Maybe some jazz, nothing too loud. I want something that is much more calm. Good morning, Bridges. Welcome back to the class. We're gonna start our class right now. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Navi. How are you doing? Alright guys, so I'm gonna share with you guys some hypothesis and some information about the observation that I have for the gold market. So if you've been trading with me since day one, you know that I've been always use auction market theory to trade. So I use the same hypothesis, I use the same strategy to scan, to analyze the market. Now, based on what I see from the macro trend of gold, to the point, to the intraday time frame, which is 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and 1 hour. So based on my observation, now the current price is actually already found its new balance, right? It is already in a zone of balance, which is this square right here. Okay, it went from expansion, okay, searching, and then it already found a new balance. Now, usually when the price found a zone of balance, well, preferably to be trading within the balance. Now, the next thing would be still, we can see that from a macro point of view, there's a very strong selling power by, distribution momentum by the macro time frame. So if you look at, from a macro perspective, right? From a macro perspective, it is a very, very strong, very, very strong selling momentum. Okay, even though that it already found a balance here, but still you see the power by the seller is still pretty much very strong. Now there is some detail that I want you to take a good look at. Even though that the sellers show very strong distribution power previously, but right here in this little detail of compression, you can see that the seller is weakening and the buyer is actually absorbing. The buyer is absorbing most of the distribution power by seller, slowly. You see the compression here. So we are spotting, the sign of buyer actually is accumulating accumulation power, and it is forming a compression and expansion. So it is having this attempt to break out and perhaps to find a new balance. You see, so that is the thing that it is trying to do. Okay, it is trying to form a breakout, and then after the breakout, it will have the attempt to find a new balance. So this is what the price want to do right now. Pay attention, guys. So it's going to be like this, and then it's going to challenge through, and then until it finds a new place to play, a new playground. So this is what the buyer want to do. The buyer disagree that the gold price it will keep on surging, to um, to a new low. But here's the question, right? I already wrote it here. How strong is the buyer? Because if the buyer is not strong enough, we can't really place our bet on the buy side, right? So that is really the question that we need to ask ourselves. How strong is the buyer? Because obviously, based on historical data, based on the chart, based on auction market theory, the seller, which is the distribution side, is way more powerful and dominating if you compare with the buyer. Now, right here, there's a few details that I want you to understand. Here would be, what we call a low volume node, right? So a low volume node, which is LVN, which is right here, is where a lot of trade is being rejected. Okay, most of the position is being rejected right here. So it actually shows that it has a high probability that, well, even though that buyer is accumulating the power to really test, to break out and found new zone, but still we cannot neglect the fact that right here, this zone, it is actually a place where a lot of trade is being rejected. So I would say that this breakout, well, might fail, based on probability. And that there is actually, the point of control right here. So what might probably happen is that it will have to have a breakout that it wants. But if it fail, it will come back here and reshuffle. Okay? So in this case, for me, it is only well, it is only rational and logical for me to stand with the seller instead of stand with the buyer. Because if I place my bet with the seller, I have a better chance to make money. But if I place my bet with the buyer, I have a lower chance to make money. It's not that I cannot make money, but if based on data, well, this is usually what happens. I would probably place the bet that this is still going to last for a while. Okay, I'm going to place a bet that this is going to last for a while. Instead of this is going to have a breakout and then go all the way and start to form, a new zone. So which one is much likely to happen? To me, I think that this would be much likely to happen. Okay, so by the end of the day, guys, you need to understand we can't really forecast and know what the market is going to happen next. It's just like sometimes when you look at the sky, it looks like it's going to rain, but it never rain, right? So the same goes to financial market. We try to really, place our bet with the highest probability trade as possible. But we need to understand and respect the fact that we can't really, we cannot really, how would I say, we can't really know what the weather is going to be. You see, from a macro point of view, 1 hour, right? Here's a balance. And this place is where it found a new balance. Oops, sorry. See a new balance here. See? And then here it forms a new balance. Okay? So how likely it is that it's going to break out here and then it's going to form a new balance? Well, you need to ask ourselves, how likely it is this is going to happen? Is this going to last for quite some time? Or it is going to break out and do it here? Okay, so this is the question that we need to ask ourselves. So it is a bet, guys. It is a bet that you need to take in order to make money. And you need to calculate how much money you're willing to risk to make that bet. So for me, I am going to make that bet. Okay, I'm going to make that bet that this balance right here is much more preferable and it is still going to last for quite some time. So next, we're going to zoom into 30 minutes. So I don't think that the buyer is still that strong, even though that is accumulating. So for me, I'm still trying to make money and monetize on this zone here, which is this particular chart. So zoom in a little, 15 minutes. There you go. So how strong is the buyer? Well, take a look at this one. Okay, we look at the details. Okay, we look at the details. Is it being rejected? Yes. How strong is the seller? Is the seller coming in down here and, reopening a position? Well, I think so. But there's a thing that you need to be careful because there is actually a compression going on. So for me, it is just a moment. We go to the 30 minutes. You see, buyer is actually gathering position. Buyer gathering position. And it's kind of obvious the buyer is gathering position. Very obvious. There you go. So yeah, as you can see, buyer is actually gathering position. Zone 1, right? Slowly, you see the footstep? It is gathering the position step by step, guys. You see, step by step. It is getting higher. It is climbing its way up. It is climbing one step. You see, two step. It is gathering the, you see, actually you look at the footprint, you can really spot, the buyer is actually accumulating the buying power to make that charge. So how strong is the buyer? Well, we need to really see, instead of asking how strong is the buyer, we need to see how strong is the seller defending. That is the trick. How strong. The next question would be, the next question would be, how well is seller defending? So how well is seller defending? That is the thing, right? So if you want to see a strong seller, okay, if you want to place a bet on the seller side, the seller need to show you that it is strong. It is like, when the buyer is pushing through, it push back down, and he managed to close the candle right below the level at least one time, then we will take that as a signal to make some trade. So right now, let us take a closer look. Really ask yourself, you see, how well is the seller defending? Not so strong. So the next question would be, if we were to make a trade, how would we trade it? Now, this is a good sign of selling power, being distributed. This is a good sign of a selling power. All right. This is a good sign of seller is starting to, having strong power of, you know, pushing it back into the zone. So yeah, and here we have point of control. Yep, I would make a trade for this one. I would probably make a trade for this one. So let me do some setup. Let me use my calculator. Hey chat, so I'm gonna use my new account today. It is gonna be a 200K US dollar account for me to do some short-term intraday trading. I'm looking for a sell trade in the gold market, which is the entry price is around like 5023, and I'm aiming for a stop loss that is pretty tight. Maybe like, you know, the stop loss would be like around, yeah, the stop loss is going to be like around like 5029.99. Make it like 5030, right? Would be the stop loss. And I'm aiming for a profit. The TP point would be like somewhere around 5008.20. So it would be a 1 to 2 risk and reward ratio. And I'm planning to take 1% risk for this particular trade. Please tell me to calculate the optimal lot size for this particular trade. Thank you. All right, I'm doing a sell trade, guys. I'm doing a sell trade for gold. So before we do anything, so I'm gonna use a new account. This account would be Okay, selling. We can do a sell trade. Not bad. One last check before we place the trade. Yeah, we can do that. All right, one more. One more candle before we pull the trigger, okay? So guys, gold, I'm looking for a sell position right now. Okay, I'm looking for a sell position right now. Let me see how does it react. Let's go. All right. Trigger pulled 5025.57. Just went in for a sell trade. Let me. All right. So this one I'm going to use a very tight stop loss, to be honest. Very tight stop loss. If we hit it, then it's fine. We're going to take another trade. So it would be a 1% risk per trade. All right, first trade open. So I'm probably gonna just focus on gold today, to be honest. So we got our first position. All right, first position open. Let me take a screenshot. All right, got it. So I'm trading for, just a moment. I'm trading for price acceptance, okay, which is I'm assuming that this breakout is going to be filled and it's going to come back down. So I will still, open a second position if I'm being stopped out, it's totally fine. Um, the reason behind that is that I think that it still have plenty of room for the seller to really push the price go down, even though that buyer is accumulating, the power to test to another level. But still, I do see that, the buyer is still, the seller is still very, very strong. So I'm doing a sell. Okay, I'm doing a sell. Oops, probably gonna be stop out. Well, let's see how does the market react, okay? So, well, the first thing I need to admit, I am biased. Okay. The second thing that I have to admit, I'm placing a bet. Okay. I am not investing, and I don't like to use the word trading as well. If you really, strip down all of the packaging, the gimmick about the retail trading market, you will really understand everything that we do right now in front of you guys. It is really something what we call structural bet. Okay. We are basically, gamblers. We are basically gamblers. And don't get me wrong, there's a difference between gamblers like us and gamblers that are in the casino. Um, there are gamblers that only make money purely by luck, and there are gamblers that make money by luck and by probability. So we are that kind of gamblers. We are making structural bet. So what bet that I'm actually making? Well, I'm making a bet where I think, even though that we have a strong signs of accumulation power here, okay, but still I would bet that based on probability that this will keep on continue to happen. Okay, so this will keep on continue to happen. So I'm placing a bet, right? I'm putting my chips here. Okay, I'm putting my chips here. This is where I choose to believe that it will actually, keep on going. Well, if it's a bet, it means that I need to be prepared to be wrong. So that is why I, use a 1% risk per trade for this particular trade. So will I be stopped out? Of course I will, guys. Of course. So the bet, okay. What's the bet? Well, the bet would be price price favor price favor new pound breaking to create new balance. So guys, I want you to take, okay, okay. So here's the bet, okay? I'm making a bet for this one, which is price favor old balance instead of breaking to create new balance. Okay, this is the bet that I'm taking. You see, I'm making this structural bet. And will the bet wins? Well, I am not sure, but based on probability, this is the bet I'm willing to take. So here we have a position, and I have a stop loss being set, and I have a TP that I think that is realistic for me to make this profit for intraday. And that is what we do. We place a bet. calculated bet, gather information that we have to read the market, and then we do it on a daily basis. By the end of the year, we, you know, we use the profit, cut the losses, and the net profit that we get. Well, congratulations, you are a profitable trader, right? That is what we do. So the thing is, I don't have to hope that this particular position will be successful. I don't have to do so. As a matter of fact, okay, as a matter of fact, um, if it's being stopped, it is part of the plan. You feel me? It is part of the plan to being stopped out from this position. All right. All right. So now let's wait for, let's go. And since the position is being played, just let it do its thing. Now we move on to another market to, look for opportunity. So this is the fun part about intraday trading. Okay. If you're using the right mental model, you're using the right hypothesis, trading is not only easy, it is fun. Okay. Yes, Mark, even if it hits stop loss, it is okay because at least we are not trading randomly. Okay. At least we are not trading randomly. And that is what separates, real gambler with structural gambler. I am a gambler. You see, I don't, as a matter of fact, I don't like to assume myself as a trader. Like I have like really sharp accuracy. I can forecast the future. I can forecast the bull and bear. Guys, let's cut the crap. Cut the crap, guys. I am not a trader. I am a gambler, but I am a structural gambler. I'm a probability gambler. And if you really embrace the fact that we are not really a trader, we are a gambler, it will humble you down. It will humble you down to a point where if you know that what you make is a bet, you will actually understand risk management better. Funny, right? But yes, if you embrace the fact that trading itself is like gambling, it's like placing a bet, but a calculated bet, a calculated gambling, then it will humble you down because you understand when you embrace the fact that you are a gambler, you are actually embracing that, yes, no matter what kind of indicator that you use, no matter what kind of theory that you study, everything is involved and influenced by luck. Agree? Everything is involved and influenced by luck. Luck. Okay? And if you really humble down and understand everything is being influenced by luck, it means that everything would be put into consideration, especially risk management. You feel me? So that is the thing that I want you guys to understand. We are all just playing with probability and luck. Okay? Luck is beyond our control, but probability and risk management is all under our control. So that is what we are doing right here. Okay? So there you go. Now we move on and we start to analyze a second market and see what happens. All right, guys. So US dollar, Japanese yuan. Okay. US dollar, Japanese yuan. So I'm looking for a buy trade. Okay. I'm looking for buy trade intraday trading. And I'm gonna give you the reasoning behind that. Okay. So even though that I'm doing like intraday trading, but still I respect the macro trend because I want to really understand based on the macro trend what is actually going on. Now, if you really take a closer look, the macro trend is still in search of a new balance. Okay, it is still currently in search for a new balance. Okay, obviously, it is still in an exploration phase. This is nothing like, balance. What we It is not overlapping, it is chaotic, it is in a negotiation phase to find a new balance, okay, which means that maybe it is affected by the Iran and US war. The oil crisis actually affected Japanese yuan as well. So the market reaction is kind of chaotic. The only balance that we see that it is much more, balance is right here. Okay, but other than that, it is not balanced at all. It is actually, if you respect the fact of the structure of the science of the market, you will really understand that the macro trend, okay, is in search of a new balance. What do I mean by new balance? It means that you will create a new balance here. Okay, and yes, there are only very subtle signs of weakening buying power, very subtle signs, which is this red candle here. It is a very small sign that it is a weakening buying power, but yet I want to tell you it is extremely subtle. Okay, it is not considered as a really good sign. So if you really, you know, observe what is the macro trend doing, it is actually still in search for a new balance. So the force is actually still with the buyer. Okay, the force is actually still with the buyer. Then if we zoom in into the 4 hours time frame, then you will have a better picture, right? Even though that right here it is forming like lower lows, a structure of a downtrend, but still it is in search of a new balance. Now the balance would be here, or the balance would be here. We don't know. Okay, this is not what we can forecast, but what we do know that it is searching for a new zone to well to trade. So let's go into the 1 hour, and then you can see much more clearly, right? So there are signs of buyer absorbing distribution power by seller. Okay, the buyer is absorbing, it is absorbing the distribution power here, right? Even though that right here it is being crushed down, but still it is absorbing and prepare to have a charge. Okay, that's a nice song, guys. Just a moment, let me save the song. Love it. What a nice songs, guys. Wow. What a nice song. Okay, back to the trade. Sorry, guys, being carried away by the song. Every time I listen to a nice song, I'll be carried away. Okay, anyway, so back to trading. US dollar, Japanese yuan. Yes, we do have signs of buy absorbing distribution power by seller here. Okay, and then we zoom in to the 30 minutes. You see, All right. So the question would be, the next question would be, well, how strong is the buyer, right? How strong is the buyer? Because what may happen, guys, what may happen is this. What may happen is that probably, right? Probably what may happen is that it may form a new balance here, or it may form a new balance here. You get it? Okay, it's either it's gonna do it like this, keep on doing here, or it's gonna do it here. Okay, either way, it's gonna pick a side and start to form a new balance. What we do know that it is in search of a new balance zone, and it's time if we were to pick, place a bet. Okay, if we were to place a bet, what kind of bet that we are actually placing? Now we zoom into the 15 minutes. Okay, so here's the thing. I would actually respect the buyer side, to be honest. Okay, I would actually, respect. For this one, I would bet for um, the buyer. Okay, for this one, I would bet for the buyer. Okay, because I think if the macro trend is actually still in search for a new balance, it is better for us to search for that new balance with the trend. And who is actually responsible for, well, who is actually responsible for this search? Well, I think buyer is actually leading the way. So I will do, you know, stand with buyer to search for new balance. Okay, looking for a buy. Okay, so I'm looking for a buy trade for this one, and I think that it will still keep on going up. So before that, let us take a look at our gold trade before I enter another trade for this one. All right, so far so good. Let's go to the 5 minutes. Okay, there you go. So yeah, stand with buyer to search for new balance. So this is going to be my main hypothesis. I would believe that the buyer is still very strong, and this compression of expansion right here, I want to ride the momentum. I want to ride this momentum to make money. Okay, I want to ride this momentum to make money. So US dollar, Japanese yen, will be my entry. Okay, what would be my entry? Simple. It is currently in the POC, right? So I would probably, opening a position, definitely not now. But I would open a position here. Somewhere around here. I would ride that wave. So for this one, stop loss would be simple. I would set it here. Because if the price broke down here, it means that my hypothesis is wrong, right? It means that seller is already regaining selling power. So this would be, okay, this will be where my stop loss is going to be. Very tight stop loss, not tight, wide stop loss. Okay, and for the trend, right? For the trade, I would place a trade here. I think it will go up, guys. I think it will go up and search for, a new zone, honestly. Yeah, somewhere around here. If it's going up, it's going up. I don't care. All right, so this would be my trade for US dollar, Japanese yuan. Okay, I'm looking for a buy actually. I'm looking for a buy. So let me do some setting before I enter the trade. Yeah, I'm gonna ride the wave of this entry. All right, chat. So right now I'm looking at US dollar, Japanese yuan, 5-minute chart. The current price is around 159.332, and that would be, the price of my entry. And I'm planning to set my stop loss around 159.172. So the buy would be the take profit would be 159.646. For this particular trade, I'm actually planning to use 0.7% of risk for this particular trade. So please help me to calculate the optimal lot size for this trade. Okay, US dollar, Japanese yuan, looking for entry. So taking a buy trade, US dollar, Japanese yuan, buy, okay? Take a buy trade here. Stop loss 159.172. Okay, there you go. So we have two signals right here, okay? All right, let's go back to the gold market. Let's see what do we have. All right, so Australian dollars, US dollar, right? Let's go. Let's take a look at it. Nice structure. Well, a moment, guys, before Australian US dollar. Oh, gold being stopped out. Just a moment. Let me go and check it. Took a loss for gold. So guys, this is what I mean by, placing a bet. It's just part of the game. And well, the market just didn't react as we anticipated, right? So it is just part of the game. So for this particular loss, I took well, it is a 2,002.1K loss. So it is around 1% loss for my account. So it's still considered acceptable because I'm using this 1% risk per trade. So it is okay. No revenge trade, no nothing. Just cancel the position and start to observe. Okay. Being stopped out. Being stopped out around 503296. being stopped out here. So what does this stop actually tell us? Well, it tells us that it is actually, well, you need to go to 15 minutes, 30 minutes for a closer look. Well, this is something interesting, you see? So it is actually showing us that buying power is currently pretty strong. If you really take a closer look, you can see that based on previous reaction, it didn't have, a full candle that is being like emerged outside, but right now you have a full candle that is being charged outside the zone. So would there be like a pullback? We are not sure about that, but we can zoom in and see, is this like a switch of, does it mean that the buyer is actually strong? Now, I'm probably going to look at buy right now. The reason behind is that if the seller cannot really, defend, right? If the seller cannot come back here and place a trade and start to do this, then it means that it will have a really good chance that, the buyer is now really stronger and it is going to form a new zone of balance, you see. So if this candle cannot go back here, it means you will have a really good chance that, buyer is regaining the strength and we're going to trade for the buy side, okay? Which means that we're going to ride the wave. So guys, Australian US dollar, I'm going to pause for a while because right now for me, more importantly, is to really spot for the second opportunity to trade the gold after I take the first loss. You see, if this red candle cannot penetrate here and it keep on doing this, okay, if it keep on doing this, it means that the buyer has already regained the strength and it will go out there and find for a new zone of balance. Okay, this is the hypothesis that we're talking about. So it really depends on how this candle here react. See, it's not going in, guys. If it's not going in, so a pullback is going on. See a pullback. If it cannot charge through, okay, if it cannot charge through, we might have a winner and we will do a buy trade. Because it actually means that the buyer is actually stronger and the seller actually cannot defend it. Okay, the seller cannot defend it, so the buyer is like pushing it out. So we gotta wait for the pullback. We gotta wait for the pullback. If there's no pullback, there's no trade, okay? So the key would be wait for the pullback. We wait for the pullback and see what happens. If it really, we wait for the pullback. The pullback will reveal to us, okay, the pullback will reveal to us, how strong is the buyer and how strong is the seller. Okay, that's the thing. Without pullback, if we just enter right here, it would be, just random gambling. Okay, but if we wait for the pullback, we wait for the structure, to show us the sign, then it is going to be structural gambling. Okay, that's a difference. All right. So let's get back to US dollar, Japanese yuan. Penetrating. Well, let it do its thing as well. No worries about this one. For this one, strong sense that it's going to go up. So back to Australian US dollar. So where will we? Let's go to the daily. So what I like about Australian US dollar is that the structure is currently in balance. You see? Good way to trade option market theory. Thanks for recommending this pair, guys. Australian US dollar, great pair. Definitely gonna put in my watch list. More importantly, the price is currently in, well, an obvious, overlapping trend. But this is not the one. This is the one. I'm gonna do the full circle. This is the beginning, all the way to the highest. And there you go. From a daily time perspective, where is the current price? Mm. Accumulation power. Probably gonna do a buy trade for this one. We'll see how it goes for this candle right here. Seller disagree, pushing it down, and we'll see how far that it travels. It would try to, challenge this level here, and we'll see how does it react. So if there's a nice pullback, we're gonna ride the wave of the pullback. It's gonna be a good trade, not bad. So here's the setup for Australian US dollar. Okay, right now we have a balance here. We have two POC, so which means that the price is actually, really trading nicely around this zone. Okay, and right now, obviously you see the seller, is showing the power move of strong distribution. So right now, interesting part about this trade is that, well, let's see how well is the buyer defending. Okay, if the buyer can penetrate back to this zone at least twice, I will do a buy. Okay, if it can penetrate through here, I will do a buy. But if it cannot, well, if it cannot, I might not do a sell. I cannot say that I will do a sell. Because there's actually accumulation power in 4H, which is, if you look from the macro trend, the buying momentum is still strong. Okay, so I'm looking for buy. Actually, for this trade, I'm looking for buy, but I need it to show me a signal that he can go back in. If he cannot go back in, if the buyer cannot go back into this zone, I might not take a trade yet. Okay, so right now it's going back in. It's going back in. It's going back in. There you see, there you go. Okay, so what we do, we wait for the signal. Yeah, so the first touch, I won't be taking it. I need at least 2 touches. I need a complete candle being opened here. And then second time, if it managed to go for the second time, I will do a buy trade. Got it, guys? If it managed to touch for second time, I will do a buy trade for this one. If not, I'll just leave it. So let's see how strong is the buyer. So we have buying momentum. We have a new balance zone. If we look from a macro point of view, I would vote for buyer, but I need the buyer to show me that it has the strength to defend the distribution power being shown right now from the seller. So I need at least 2 signals for me to really spot, to really have that kind of confidence from the buyer. If not, it means that probably the seller is actually rigging. I will not take any trade before that. And taking a sell trade right now is also not realistic as well, because it still have that kind of power that, is being shown that seller is not that strong as we see. So yeah, looking Australian US dollar, looking for a buy trade, but I need some signal from the buy side. So let's plan for my stop loss strategy. Yep, potential buy, guys, potential buy. Have one candle being open right inside the zone. But the first candle is not enough. We need a second one. Tight stop loss. Aim for like maybe, yeah, 16 pips would be enough. This will be a good aim. So don't be fooled by the first candle, okay? Don't be fooled by the first candle. We need the second one. Okay, we need the second one. So last 10 minutes, let us just wait. Can we have a nice position? Okay. So let me do the calculation. All right, Chad. So currently, I just took a loss from the previous gold trade. So the loss would be 2113.54. So the current account balance is 197,886.46. So right now I'm planning to take another trade is Australian US dollar. I'm thinking of doing a buy trade. So it is, the current price, the entry would be around 0.70574. That would be my entry. And the stop loss would be around 0.70492. And the take profit would be somewhere around like 0.70739, which is a 1 to 2 risk and reward ratio. So for this particular trade, I'm planning to take a 1% risk per trade. So please help me to calculate the optimal and precise lot size for this particular trade. Thank you. Australian US dollar. All right, let us see. Countdown, guys, countdown. It is almost the end of the live stream, but still let us, wait a little while. Okay, we wait a little while to see how this candle react. I'm looking for a buy trade, and we'll see how it goes from there. US dollar, Japanese yen finally profiting again. All right, next candle. Nope, not taking any trade yet. So this is the thing, guys. Back at those days when I first learned about trading, when I see signal like this, I will just go in. I will just go in and hit the buy. But the thing is, if you lack of hypothesis, then it means that, you know, it means that you will be pulled and you're going to be constantly reacting to everything that the price does. But the truth is, you need to understand if you want to place a bet to the buy, which is the buy trade right now, you need the buyer. The tip is this: you need the buyer to show you, to prove to you that the buyer have the power to attack, to counter the distribution power by the seller. Now, the first pullback is doesn't prove anything. I want you guys to remember, the first pullback doesn't mean anything. What we want is the second retest, okay? What we want is the second retest. That is why I want you guys to understand this, okay? This is what we want, okay? The first pullback doesn't mean anything because it doesn't prove anything. It might be just a reaction, okay? So what we want is that a proof. So what is the proof that makes all the difference? The proof is here. It comes down and then it starts to create a second similar structure. When it does this, okay, it is safe for us to take a buy trade. Got it? Only when it does this point, okay, that makes all the difference. All right, here's the tip for you guys. So some of you, may be in my VIP group, maybe my personal students. So here's the trick, right? I'm going to share with you guys a simple trick for observation. This would be good. There you go. There you go. This part. Okay, this is where we pop the champagne. Okay, so before that, we can't do anything. Before that, this is just something fake. Okay, this is just like a bubble. Okay, it is just like a small reaction. We want a real legit reaction from the buy side. Okay, so yeah, it is almost the end of the class. Quick recap on our trade today. Today we placed like 3 trades. The first trade we took a loss. It's fine. So we did took a loss for this particular trade, which is the gold. Okay, I'm being stopped out. Okay, I'm being stopped out for the gold. And for US dollar, Japanese yen, it is still holding. And I think that it is okay to hold it because I believe that it will have the potential to hit the structure. Okay. And for Australian US dollar, we are waiting for a proof. So yeah, that's probably for the trading setup for today. So guys, thank you very much for joining our class today. We will be doing live stream every Monday to Friday. For me, I will do it every morning from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Malaysia time, Singapore time. And if you're from Australia, from Hong Kong, Singapore, anywhere in the world, welcome to our class, where we teach you guys about retail trading, about option market theory, about how to really build that kind of eyesight, that kind of strategy for you to become successful, stable, and emotionally peace in the retail market. It is a very noisy place, guys. So you really need a community people that are like-minded and chill for you to be successful. So thank you very much for investing 2 hours of your time in my live stream. And I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, we still have 3 more days to go. And for this particular trade in the Australian US dollar, I will take a closer look for a second confirmation. But for right now, yeah, that's probably it, guys. My name is CG. Thank you for attending the class. I wish you have a great day and a great week ahead. Let's get it done. See you guys.